Alright, so in this video, we're going to go over another way to make a custom sky sphere. In this example, we're going to kind of recreate this space scene, or at least the sky portion of it. So to get started, you'll just need um, a texture. So for this Milky Way texture I got right here, I sourced it from a website called SolarSystemScopes.com, which has a bunch of space and planet textures available for free in high resolution to download. So I have a link to that in the course module, week 3, planet and space textures. So I went ahead and got my texture, brought it in, dragged it in, and so let's get started. First thing I'll do for this example is I'm just going to make a new level, call it a demo. Double click to open it up. And so we have a blank scene to start with. So just to give ourselves something to look at, I'm going to go ahead and drag in a directional light, and then I'm going to bring in a cube. How about rotate it? We got our cube. There it is. So let's go ahead and just move the cube to the origin, and we'll click the cube in the outliner, press F to focus in on it, and there it is. We got our cube, we got our light over here. So to make the dome, easiest way, drag in a sphere, go ahead and make sure it's at the origin. So I'm in the transform settings of the details tab, setting it to 0, 0, 0. So it's at the middle. Then we're going to change the scale up to something like 10,000. So first thing you'll notice is that we can no longer see our cube. That's simply because the sky sphere is a object like anything else, and it's currently casting shadows, so the directional light can't pass through. So if we click on our sphere in the outliner, click on it, go to the details, and we go down to lighting, we can go to cast shadows, turn off cast shadows, and we can see our sphere again. So let's start making the material. So I have my texture, and let's make a new material, call it demo 2. Go ahead and open this up. Let's have a look. And it's a pretty simple material graph setup. First thing we'll do is we'll click on our material node at the end here. We're going to change a couple settings. We're going to go to the details. We're going to go down to shading model and set it from default lit to unlit. And then right under that is two-sided. We're going to check that on so that it's a two-sided material. Because right now we're looking at the inside of the sky sphere, and if it were not two-sided, we would only be able to see the material if we were on the outside, and that's no good. So step 1, let's go ahead and drag our texture in so that we have a texture node. Then let's give ourselves a little space. Then in the UVs, we need to plug in a texture coordinates. Plug that into the UVs. Then out, we're going to pull the texture out, the RGB out. We're going to give ourselves a little bit of control. So we're going to get a multiply node. And then we're going to hold S on the keyboard, click, and this will give us a parameter, a single value parameter that we can call brightness. We can plug that into the multiply. By default, we'll set it to 1. And then we're going to create a sky atmosphere light disk luminance. So under sky, atmosphere, light disk luminance, click that. Then we'll go ahead and drag that off. Create an add node. Then we're going to add that to the multiply so that we have this little string. And then finally, this will go right into our emissive color. So if we save that, let's go ahead and shrink this down so we can see our scene. If we go ahead and select our sky sphere, go to its details here, scroll back to the top so we can see its material slot. then we can drag in the material into the material slot, and boom, we'll see it appear on our sky. And it's a little blown out right now, so that's probably because our brightness value right here is a little high. So we're going to lower that to like 0.1. And there we go. Now we got a sky with a new texture on it and a directional light passing through it, lighting our scene. So that's a simple way to approach making a custom sky. Now, say you're not doing space. Say you're making you have a nice stylized level and you want to paint your own stylized looking clouds. This method can also work for that. So here I have a texture I created, and I can plug that into the texture slot, save it, it'll update our scene, and now you can put any image you want on this dome. So a tip for creating your own sky material or your sky texture, if we go ahead and look at Photoshop here, is start with a wide texture. And if you're doing like a sky, I like to do a gradient, light at the bottom, darker at the top. And then, make a couple layers of clouds, paint them on. And the key here is to make sure that they tile. So if I were to like duplicate this image and line them up, they would line up right next to each other. And the best way to accomplish this is if I just we make a new layer here, and I just got a random brush on a new layer. Let's turn this one off. If I were to here are my clouds, here are my nice clouds. To start, just make sure you don't draw the clouds on the edge here. This is where the tiling happens. So you draw the clouds in between, and then you can go up to your filters and then do a offset. Then you offset by half of your horizontal width, whatever that may be. So I think mine's a little messed up right now, but so my tiling line is right here instead of in the middle. So tile it by half your width, press OK. Now you paint in that new area that would be the seam, so that when you filter offset again, you will have a texture that tiles. So you can do the same procedure for any number of layers you want and paint them up and make your nice cloud scene. Then you can save it out, bring it in, and attach it to your new material you made. The key with this method is to make sure the top portion of your texture and the bottom portion of your texture, although that matters less because you won't really see down there, don't have as much detail going on, because they're all going to kind of pinch to the top of the texture or top of the sphere. Based on how the UVs are set up, it's going to pinch. In the case of our Milky Way texture we had, that one doesn't pinch because it's a texture set up to be displayed on a sphere. So, just based on what you find for your textures, you may have to set up a little differently. So that's the process for creating a new sphere and creating a simple sky material on it.